Okay, now we're going to go over how to disposition a patient, basically how to discharge or admit them. First, we'll go over discharge. So you just finished your note and you just hit discharge on the note. Now, what do? Well, unfortunately, this is what takes a very long time. Another thing that takes a very long time here. Hopefully, by the time you start, we have electronic prescriptions, but right now we don't. Something that we're trying to get the hospital to invest in. So you have to handwrite your prescriptions and put those on the chart. Um, the other thing we have to do is print off discharge instructions or discharge education. So that is kind of a long process. You basically make sure that you're on the right patient. So you could have just finished your note. You would have been in the documentation part. Anywhere you see this your patient name, you just click this I right here, and it takes you to this patient information screen. Now, on this screen, this makes no sense, but you just have to click anything. Sometimes it'll just have the allergies button. It could have their home medicines. It could have anything, but you click anything. I'll click lactic acid. It doesn't matter. It's just, and then you hit retrieve, and that takes you to this micromedics page. Hopefully you're familiar with micromedics. From here, you have to go to keyword search. And the keyword search, you search for your whatever education you want to give them. So let's just say we're doing chest pain instructions. Now you can choose your care and condition titles. I guess you could have gone straight to care and condition titles. I've never done that before. Nope, never mind. So keyword search, chest pain, and let's say you want to just give them general chest pain. Well, then you hit select. You click it and you go to select title here. And you have different options. What you want to shoot for is the aftercare ED instructions. If they have that, choose that. If they don't, just choose whatever you can get. But you go to aftercare, choose your language, and you can either customize or print. If you customize, it's just a spot for you to type in special instructions, like if you want to write anything like return if pain worsens, it should all be in there. But anything you want to, warn the patient about, you could free text it here, and when you print it off, it'll be there, and then you hit print. Now, of course, I'm at home, so you can't see the actual printer list, but it's important that you route the printer. Another nuance of the system is it's not going to route a lot of times where you're sitting to the closest printer. So if you're in the physician room, route it to the one that says I think it's like ER physician room. One of the computers automatically does it, the other doesn't. If you're out in the PA station, you usually want to route it to nurse desk 3. So just make sure you're looking at where you're sending it. So this is going to go on the chart. Whatever you print out, the instructions are going to go on the chart with your prescriptions. There's one other thing you have to have with the on the chart for discharge, and it's going to be a page that looks like this. Right now, this page is a part of the official medical record. I'm trying to make a new one that's not a part of the official medical record, because if you turn this in and forget to sign it, it's going to go on your deficiency list and you have to sign it. The residents have to bring it to you to sign on every patient. It's a kind of a pain. So I'm basically trying to get one made that won't be a part of the medical record, so you don't have to worry about signing it, but it's still, unfortunately, something we have to do. This is because the diagnosis that we put in our notes does not transfer over into Paragon to be like a listed diagnosis. So the nurse has to go in and physically put in the diagnosis into their system for it to be part of the medical record. They also put in our follow-ups, like cardiology, ortho, etc., which you see down here. So basically, we'll just go through the sheet. So you have the history and physical. A lot of the residents, med students, even some docs will use this to take notes. Nothing is required here. What's required is the discharge diagnosis. So I put whatever the diagnoses are, list them right here. Discharge instructions, I wrote uprint because that's what we just showed. So in the past, the docs weren't printing them. It slowed things down a lot. Now we are. That's what I just showed you. So you're going to print this part. You don't have to put anything here. And then the follow-up. It's nice for us that we don't have to go on the list and type in the follow-up doc, but unfortunately it takes time for the nurses to do it. But there's no other option at this time. The system we're looking at is going to be electronic with prescriptions, discharge instructions, and it'll have the follow-up docs in a list. So hopefully I'll be deleting this video and uploading one that will show that. But for now, you have to fill out this page. So after you've discharged the patient, you've got to have this page filled out, your discharge instructions on the chart and your prescriptions handwritten on the chart. That goes to the discharge rack. Be sure to sign, and if the resident brings it to you, sign. So that's how you discharge a patient. Now, if you were going to admit a patient, there's a few different ways. When you admit a patient, you have to think of bed request, and then you have to think of admit orders. For a bed request, I say it over and over. The system's weird, but for the bed request, we can put them in the computer. When you put that bed request in the computer and fill out the attending and inpatient versus obs and all that, it doesn't really transfer over to the bed control people. So the secretary basically takes that information and puts it in the bed control orders. So I'm trying to edit this to where we can just handwrite it in, where it will have the sections to fill out for admission, inpatient obs, diagnosis for admission, who's the attending, that kind of stuff. You can still do that now. That's pretty much what I do now. Is now I just write the diagnosis. I write admit to this person, Dr. Do good, diagnosis, and I'll put, observation and med tele, and just hand that to the secretary and say, here's an admission. It's the same thing as us putting in an admission order or a bed request order in the computer. So even if you put the bed request in the computer, which I'm going to show you how to do, you still have got to at least give the diagnosis and give it to the secretary and say, I'm admitting this patient, and sign it. There's a discharge rack, which you'll learn, and then the admits go to the secretary. So let's go back over to the bed request in the computer. So let's say I wanted to admit this patient. So I've got my right patient on here, and I'm going to go to CPOE. And I'm going to go to search. And let's look at those ED orders again. So I typed ED after search. And you've got an ED bed request, and then you've also got ED general admission. So bed request, that's basically where you put the basic stuff: inpatient or observation, placed to the service of, which basically means the name of the doctor, and the location. So I'm going to say inpatient, and we have, the kind of regular floors: ICU, med-surg, tele. They have a cardiovascular ICU and a cardiovascular care unit. The CVCU is kind of like where you're going to put your sicker cardiac patients, maybe AFib on a drip. I think they could go there, or ACS, or really any kind of chest pain can go there. So cardiac patients go to the CVCU or the CVICU. And then Silver Linings is like a geriatric psych unit. So let's say CVCU. Really, there's no red red stop signs to stop you from doing anything, but you do, we still have to put in the doctor, Dr. X, and then somewhere in here I just put the diagnoses. But what I've gotten frustrated as, I'll do this and I'll tell the secretary I'm admitting somebody, and they don't even look for these orders. They've got to put it in another system to send it to bed control. So I've pretty much just gone to putting it in the putting it on that sheet I talked about here, just free writing it here real quick and giving it to the secretary. So that's how you put the admit orders in. I'm sorry, I keep saying that wrong. That's how you put the bed request orders in. Let's say now you've admitted somebody, you've got the bed request in on somebody, and it's been an hour. You want to put orders in, or let's say it's somebody off site and they say, can you go ahead and put in the orders for me? So you go to this ED general admission order set, and it's self-explanatory. You can do the inpatient obs, the doctor, and then you can choose a few orders to get them upstairs. I don't usually mess with full code or DNR unless I know they're DNR. You could put a consult in. You could put the diet. It's just basic general admission orders. You can put their activity. I don't usually do any labs for them. You could choose some fluids. So, you could click something and put the rate. They've got some medicines put here. I'm shocked they have vinegar and IV there. I'm sure that'll go away. You could choose some pain medicines, anything, anything just to get them upstairs. The only thing that's a hard stop is this venous thromboembolism. If you try to submit your orders without putting something here, then it won't let you. If I think there's a way to get around it where you could click it and unclick it and say that they're low risk. But these are how you put in the bridge orders to get them upstairs. Don't do this on every patient for a hospitalist that's in-house. We give them 30 minutes to an hour to do it, but it's definitely something we can do if it's been a while, or if it's something that one of them requests us to do, we can do. If it's a surgical patient, the surgeon's at home or somebody in the middle of the night, you can put in these orders. But again, let the secretary know that your bed request is in and that your orders are in. Now, let's say on your notes, you forgot to click discharge or admission. We want the tracking board to reflect where the patient's going. So I think I covered this in a prior video, but you would go to the tracker and you would change the status of the patient. You want it to be in the right section here, basically. So you would right-click on the tracker, hit details on the patient that you forgot to hit discharge or admit on in the note, and you would change the status first to pending discharge or pending admit. Now, if you want to give a patient like normal saline before they leave or Rocephin before they leave, change it to disposition to DC. That way the nurse knows that they're ready to go home after they finish something. But once you hit pending discharge, they're on the clock to get it out. So if they're getting medicines, don't hit pending discharge. Go to disposition to DC. So, or you could put pending admit. So when I forget to click it in my note, I go over to the tracker, right-click details, and change the status. So I believe that's everything for this video. Let me check my notes if I missed anything. Nope, that's it.